All right, shalom, 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 my brother.
Shalom,
All
shalom,
right,
Moran. How are
yeah,
you?
I'm doing well, my brother. I'm doing well, and hopefully that you're doing the same, huh?
Oh
Yeah,
man, yes sir.
yeah.
All is well.
I was telling you we were discussing, and I had the little scriptures up here, but they somehow I closed it, you know. So it's always something, isn't
That is
it?
true.
Yeah, yeah, something. So maybe we'll get to that. In that, I just wanted to uh, definitely greet you, and then greet. Let's see who's in the room, and then greet those that are coming in on this live session. We want to shout out to them, of course, and those that will be coming in. So I'm so grateful for that. Grateful for the
Shalom.
joining us, and it looks like we doing a. If you want to say a part two, could be a part three, could be a part four. I don't know, but just to make sure that a lot of times, of course, you never can say all that you can say, right? And you can always build. We can build in this situation, and try to help us. And just about talking about agreement is sort of like the overall title, I guess, of that. The agreement, and has it, how does it, when does it, or if it does it tie into love? And that's what we was dealing with, LOVE. We do have a part one in that our beginning or introduction is according how how this would turn out. What qualifies that to be part one or an introduction to the other one, right? So so grateful. Just continue to have that thought, and I couldn't. I think even from the Shabbat on, I couldn't really. I think I wanted to stay here, even though it might not completely tie in, right? But it will tie in. So all of those things
All
are
right.
there. All right, all right. I think I hear a little bit in the background there, my brother. But so we want to continue to build on this. Now, that's since I threw that word out there, because as I was looking over there, I was thinking about all that we doing. I want you to know that we building the relationships. You know, that's something that you have to know, that we taking on, in this sense, an instruction project. You know, so sometimes I remember one time we had a home built, and we had to wait till they lay the foundation, put everything together, and then because they used the word building, so they was building the house, but sometimes you have to wait. Everything is a process. And I remember that one time we wanted to put ceiling fans up, and they said that once they got to a certain point where the electricians come in, then if because we wanted to purchase the fans, they said that they would put those fans up for us if we would get it to him, but we had to get it to him at a certain time. And so if we did that, then we could see that they was able to put those fans up in that. Well, I think if I can recall that right, I think we had to go by and we checked, and I think they might have missed a little bit of that, but eventually they got put up. So I guess my point here is that whatever you do in life, you are building on it. And I don't, we have to understand that. So when we're talking about love, it's something that I'm putting it in. Other those that are more professional or whatever, they may put it in different categories, but I'm putting it in the category of maybe growth. You could use it like that because it can change, and I don't want to, just put you in a box where it can be just this. But in the process of the character of what we need to do, we need to understand that we are loving our neighbor. And so, what that looks like, we are loving our enemies. So, I just, even though I didn't put those particular scriptures up in that, those are the scriptures that you can really go back and kind of look at. And then it says that husbands, right, love your wife, right? And I think that's in Ephesians. Excuse me here. I think I can put this up for us as well as the other ones, but if I can remember where it may be. Like I say, I had it all out here and then it went down on me. So that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. I think it was in the fifth. Let me see. I think it was 5. And maybe we can put it up. Ephesians 5 for us. 5. Go back here and try to make it a little bigger there where we could see it. So we'll talk about different things on tonight. 5 and 25, I believe it is. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's the one. Let me see if I could show this to us as well. All right, we'll put it up. There we go. All right. It says, husband loves your wives, right? So I wanted to, show that to us as Messiah also did love the assembly, and then he gave himself for it. It says, and he gave himself for it. So he gave himself for it, right? So we want to realize that. I think I lost my brother, but we want to realize that he gave himself for it. So these are some of the ideas I want to express on tonight of where we're trying to go. We are the love, the building the love in that. And so that's something that you grow to do. That's what I'm saying. You grow to love in that. And so not so much of have the agreement to. I'm going to go ahead and include you back in here, brother, since you came back to us and you're going to mute on us. All right. So we were talking about love just as you dropped out, and Ephesians chapter 25 and verse chapter 5 verse 25 is one that had came to mind, and that love there talking about loving your wives, and so in association with loving one another, and then that is very intense because most times the couples are together. They, it's sort of, we call it 24/7. So that is really a place where we need to be. And then it gives us an example of that particular love. It's the same love that he gave to the body in that. So we were talking about disagreements, right? We was talking about agreements, and then I want to talk about it can be difficult. Now I may rehash some of the thought process from it may carry over, and so hopefully it won't be redundant. It can be difficult to know if you are right in a disagreement. sometimes, and really we are not. Well, we're not so much pushing for if you right or not, right? And so that can be very difficult sometimes, and it can easily ease the pain, right, of a disagreement because we're trying to come into an agreement. That's what we are doing. So we have those disagreements, but we're trying to come into an agreement. So we must understand that we as a people, we have access to different information. All right. And so because of that, and sometimes it helps us to realize what is it that causes disagreement and that it can help us to make an agreement, right? They can bring about disagreement. So when you have different information, because according to where you at, and I think I mentioned this, according with the educational level or whatever it might be, the information that you have access to, you know, if you have access to, say we want to say like a college library would be different from an elementary library, would be different from say a high school library, right? So they would be different, and the information would be different. But sometimes my information and then your information can bring about a disagreement in that. So uh, that's where sometimes it because the information that I have, I think that I feel like I'm confident or that's right in, right? And then the information that the other person has, they feel like they're right in that. And so what that does is bring about disagreement. So what we want to do is make sure that just because that you disagree with me, that it does not affect the love that you have for me or that I have for you, right? So we don't want to let it get in there. You know, we at a time where we talking about getting the leaven out, right? So we don't, because we know that disagreement come into agreement and it affected, right? It'll affect it. So we trying to get that disagreement out and then come to an agreement, something that we can agree on. And that's what's going to be important in our relationships, whatever we're doing. And so sometimes what happens in disagreements, even myself, sometimes we don't know, and this is important. I think I had talked to you many times about words. So sometimes we don't know what words mean sometimes. So sometimes I don't know what the definition of your words means, and I don't know what the definition of my words. And sometimes it could be, we are here, say, live on YouTube, but somebody could be from other countries or whatever. And some of the things that can be said could be strange to them because of maybe the idioms, because of how I say a word or what I mean by saying a word. And it's always good in communication to make sure that when you are communicating, that those definition of those words sometime that we can get an understanding. It's like, okay, did you understand what I'm saying? And they say yes, and then I say, okay, now repeat back to me what I have said, right? And so sometimes when you're dealing with the little ones or dealing with people, it may be good if if things allow to have them to repeat back what you said in that, because many a times I know that the words, how you use words, or what you say, can get in the way with that, right? And disagreements, this is another thing can help us, is it's a normal part of life. And I might have mentioned that before, right? Because what it does, it brings about an opportunity for us to grow. It brings about an opportunity for us to learn from one another. And so in that process, it is strengthening the love for one another, you know. And so when it is said to love your neighbor, and of course we, in Torah, we know what that's telling us. When it says love your wives, it's telling us, love your wife. You need to love your wife. And it's telling us what to do, right? So this is when we talking about the agreement that we are coming to. It's going to strengthen the agreement, but it's going to also we're going to say strengthen or help the love to grow to one another in that. And so what we have two people coming together, right, to find a solution. So when you come, you're trying to find a solution to this, right? And then it's going to benefit everybody that's involved, right? So you have to come to a solution of this, whatever this agreement is, and then once you do that, then you can feel the release, you can feel the shalom in that, because everybody should benefit from that, whatever that, whenever the situation is, right? The two parties come to agree. And so when you do that, though, it may cause one, which either one, to give up something. And I think you had said that to, something to the fact that, you have to get out of what you stand, but we have to give up something and to agree, right? So because I'm coming to a solution on this, and both of us can work on that, but it would be good for both parties to give up something. Why are you saying that? I'm getting to this agreement, so you're working it out, you're talking it out, and you're working those things out in a attitude, right, of gratitude. So you're working with those things. So it is very, very important that we work it out together. We're trying to find a solution. We're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to find the solution to that, if all possible. Now, sometimes it might not be possible. It may take a period of time. So sometimes you may have to, we use the word, say, table it or whatever. Sometimes you may have to, okay, let's put this, and I think you mentioned it before, my brother, put it on the shelf. Let's put this right here. But once you do that, if you don't come to a solution right away, don't let it affect everything else you do, though, because you still have to have that interaction and that relationship with one another until you can come to that conclusion or that situation. So one of the things, and one of the things that the scriptures tell us is agree, try to come to this agreement, and I'm paraphrasing here, agreement quickly, right? Come to agreement quickly, and it says something with your adversary, right? So you don't want to leave it out there too long. But if you can't agree, then it may be okay to put it on the shelf only if the person understands that this won't affect our going forth relationship, because sometimes we have those things in there. And I talked about if you building, and I started off this about building. Now, two people and then the community, and then of course this relationship with the Most High. But you are building a history, right, with one another, right? And so we building a healthy history with one another. And if you do that, then it will enrich both enrich your life. Let's put it that way. And so, but you're gonna have history, in that. So the history ought to be able to build your love. And so what I'm saying is the history of you guys, of the relationship of the husband and wife, of the community, or whatever you may have, that ought to be able to build. And it's easy for us to forget, in that. So if you was a person that helped me, say, I had a flat tire and you came and helped me, and you helped me, say, change the oil on my car. You did all of those things. We build in history, and then I say, then something else happens, and I say, say my pipe busted at the house. Then the person say, well, why didn't you call me? I would have came and helped you. You might, there would be impossible for me to say, oh, I don't think you would help me. why would I say that when your history was when I had a flat, you was there. You helped me change my oil. That's the history. So if I needed help, I could call you, and it's a high possibility that you would come and help me because we have a form of history. And so I'm just kind of using that on the spot, trying to off the top of my head is to understand to have that history that I had something. uh, oh man, I think Siri tried to talk to me. Cut off all the leg. Well, if she don't understand it, I don't understand it either. So with that, maybe that's the problem, right? Maybe that's the problem. Trying to put it into my life, right? Trying to put it in my life. Uh, oh man, that was good. That was good. So we building history, right? So that's what we trying to do, right? So I'm about 20 minutes in, my brother, and I'm gonna let you on that before I get. I don't want to get too heavy, where you may, as you jotting down different things, but you may have a thought process, and then we will continue after that. So come on and jump in some of that, and then I know that you can kind of gear me and make sure that those things was going the way that they should.
Praise God. Praise God.
Hallelujah. Yes,
Oh
sir.
man, I'm really liking the topics you're bringing up, the way you're bringing these things up, because it's definitely powered me up. I've got lots of power up going on. So praise God for that. I like what you were saying in the idea of building, and I think that really always helps me because having a focus point with a relationship is necessary. Because you need, like you were saying, the boundaries and everything. Like from the first session, those things help us to define, where we're headed. And when you added in the themes of loving our neighbors, our enemies, husbands loving your wives, that definitely boosted the idea of what the building may look like. Now, when you brought up solving the disagreements and how that can be different based upon the information each one of us has, oh man, that was a huge power up for me. So I like the idea that you brought out. It's just like, it's not that the other person doesn't know what they're talking about. It's more, I may have information they haven't seen.
Mhm.
So I really like that. Because there's always someone who knows more, someone who's lived what you're thinking, or whatever it is. The experience is always going to outweigh the book knowledge, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So just somebody being able to say they lived through something is going to be a lot more than I read it, or whatever the case may be. But I just see how that can be different and difficult. I mean, in solving the disagreements. And then the other thing that you said that really built me up was to define what you mean when you're speaking. Oh man, that's awesome, because we can use certain words like, this is a disagreement. Well, that word may mean something to you that it may not mean to me. Or this is an argument. Well, that may be viewed through a certain lens that I'm not having. So defining those words on what you may think the disagreement is, or what you may think the conflict is important, because that's going to give you your mindset.
Mhm.
If I view this as a disagreement, which I may put like as a light matter. Okay, you're seeing something one way, I'm seeing something another way. Somebody may take that same word as disagreement and it be a heavy matter. On We're gonna have to, we're gonna need to take a break, whatever the case is, just because we're viewing that same word with two different lenses.
Right, right.
So I definitely believe that is key. I also like what you said about coming to an understanding with each other quickly. I really believe in that. But then again, like you said, it's circumstantial. You're going to have to know, where you're at with whatever it is that you're going, expressing. Because to resolve the issue, like you said, both, at least the way I worded it, with what you said, both parties should desire to reach common ground. Oh man, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
in terms of us wanting to move forward, because I had a sister who was telling me sometimes you're when you're in a mindset of I'm offended, it can be really hard to get out of that place
Mm-hmm.
because you now need to justify the fact that I've been wronged. And even though the person may want to move forward, it may be viewed as if the complaint or the issue isn't being acknowledged. And that can be very difficult when you're trying to grow and build,
Mm-hmm.
because the wound is too deep, unfortunately
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Um, but when you said that the disagreements shouldn't jeopardize the relationship, that really hit a mark with me as well. Because sometimes it seems as if the person you're in a relationship with isn't seeing the common ground that was built on, like you were saying, like there are some good things in our history, that we should know that this person's character based upon those things. At least that's the way I received what you said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if there was something that was done that I may not have seen as the best for our relationship, that shouldn't jeopardize our entire relationship, just this one act.
Mm-hmm.
Or also, the other thing that came to my mind is when we feel that we should do something in a relationship, even if we didn't want to do it, we choose to do it, and the only reason why we're doing it is because we feel that if we didn't, the entire relationship would fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if, I don't think that that's I don't think that's the way it should be.
No.
So when you were saying that about the disagreements, it shouldn't be that we force ourselves to, how can I say, to stay to. It's like we're creating a conflict because we're failing to be honest. It's just like, okay, I can't just say I don't want to do it, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. Especially like you brought up with husbands and wives, we're gonna differ. Men and women, we just view things differently,
Mm-hmm.
but there should be a way for us to, like you said, to continue to build. And one of the ways that to which I find helpful to what you were saying is defining the words, because sometimes you may say something and it may not be taken as what you meant.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
so that right there is a big area, because people say what you mean. Well, sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do
Right.
when you're trying to express yourself in an area to which, like we're talking about with these agreements, or you may say what you mean, but it isn't heard as what you meant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something else that came to my mind, because, like, I guess, like, that whole, uh I don't want to say just like double-edged nature in that sense, because we're not just talking about the written word, but I mean in the sense that words can be taken one way, even though you didn't mean it that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, like, what would be a good way to define those words?
Yeah.
Like,
What? Yeah.
and
Go. No. Go ahead. Did you finish? I'm sorry.
oh, that was it. That was it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The like the words. Like you were saying, it gets difficult because, um, I have to. Sometimes I do not choose the best words, and then it's like, well, I didn't really want to say that, but it might have been appropriate to use at that time. When I say appropriate to use, that's the only thing that I can think of at that time you know so when it comes to those words, and then what happens is, those words, the culture pushes those words, what you have. So sometimes that's what happens. It pushes it. And according to how you grew up and what words mean, and then when we come together, say husband and wife, or we come together, say as friends, or however that is, then we have, no matter what it is, you have two different households. We'll put it like this: two different households coming together. No two parents are parenting the same. They have the same, maybe the same ideas, They may do it the same, but let me tell you, there's not two households that's the same. You know, you can have a commonality in what you're doing, but it's different. So you have one that, and then when you come together, if it's say if it's just me and you, your household, the way you was brought up is different from me. And according to how old you are, it could be very, very different. All right. But if we grew up together, it still would be different. It still be different like that. It could be where I didn't have to clean my room up. I didn't have to wash no dishes. I didn't have to do nothing. And then when I get with you and meet you and we introduce, we come to know each other. I guess is where I'm going with this. And you was one you had to clean your room, wash the dishes, take out the trash. I didn't have to do none of that, right? I didn't have to do none of that. And my parents didn't force me to do none of that, and I'm using an example because I had to do it. That's for sure. But when we come together, everything is that's gonna look differently. And the first thing you may say is, well, you don't have to do anything. And you say, no, my parents do all that. My mom does that for me. So now I can take on two things here. One of the things I could take on is now I want to understand, I could go to my parents and say, why you don't, you know, uh, why do I have to do all this? So and so doesn't have to do it, right? I could take that, because I can get that together. And vice versa. You could tell the friend is, oh, you don't have to do nothing. Why don't you do that? And then we always interject in situations the love. So which parent loves the the child? You know what I'm saying? Do they love me or do they love you as a friend? Which one is betraying love? Because somebody would say, well, if they love you, then they would have you to do all those things. The other one would say, if they love you, then you shouldn't do all of those things. So I'm just using this as two different ideas that's coming together, you know. And so sometimes we have these things and then and we attach love to it. But everything that we do, there's no need to attach, say, that LOVE to it, you know. It doesn't have to be attached to that. So what we attach love to, and I think I might have said this in the past, but whatever we attach love to, it has to be something solid and something that we are building together. Something that we building together. So the idea now you got, how do you come to an agreement that it's okay. Because my parents meet your parents, then they say, well, you don't have your child doing that. Well, he gonna make sure he do all it. So all of those things are there, right? All of those things are there, and you're trying to work those things out. And then if if somebody I never did nothing, clean up nothing, not have to do nothing, and then I go get a wife, and then now I want her to do it all because I didn't never do it no way. Right? I think you should do it all, but she may have a different idea on that. Right? So now, oh man, now something is coming together, in that. So it could be some conflict in that, right? So I was, just like you were saying, building earlier, I guess I saying going back to the words, they develop on what it is. So my cleaning, if I never did nothing, the way I clean is different from the way you clean because I didn't clean nothing. So I think I mentioned this before. You go in somewhere and you say, "Did you clean your room?" And I say, "Yeah, I cleaned the room." And clothes could still be everywhere, but you think that you cleaned it. But somebody else could look at it and say, well, that's not really clean. So now you got two different words. So now they have to be, sometimes when we come together or you get married, those words have to be redefined. You are coming from a pure heart when you had clothes still all over the bed, all over the floor, that, that's how you did it. That's how you go, and it was clean to you, right? But the other person, They felt like cleaning was all of my clothes are in where they should be and hanging up, and the bed made up and all my stuff picked up. To them that's clean. So when we sitting at a table and we talking about clean, we really don't know what the word means to each other. And so when they say, yeah, oh, I clean up my room, and you go in there and, man, oh wow, what's going on here? So now that, if you have that, make a long story shorter for time's sake, now that you have all of that, these two people get together, and now you're saying, okay, let's come to this agreement, because our word clean and our association with one another is not the same. So when you say clean, when I say clean, is different. So now, let's, what about this? Let's, when we using this word, let's, now I'm not saying anybody do this. I'm just doing this for ideal sake, or something to think about, something to put on our mind, right? So if you hang up all the clothes and all of that, and you look at that, maybe make up the bed, and vacuum and all of that, and then when you guys look at that again, when your husband and wife, and then y'all look at it again, you say, this here is clean. I say, okay, I can agree with you. Okay, this is clean, right? And so now we are on the same level of what that word clean means, right? So we take that, and the next time though we discuss somebody clean up the room, or you cleaning up the room, she is in expectation that we agree that this is clean, right? We agree that. I say, okay. So when you say, okay, I'm gonna clean the room, her expectations is the way that y'all agreed to when both of y'all looked at that room, when the clothes was hung up and the bed was made up, everything was put away and all of that. That's what she's looking at. So when you come and tell her it's clean, then she shouldn't go back or go to the room and see the clothes everywhere, because that's what you didn't agree to that. So now the definition of the words come. So you always building, and it's again that's the concept I want us to have is, it's not that you got it on target right now, but you have to build. Don't dismantle, or don't what's that word when you demolition, when you tear everything down, don't
Demolish.
yeah, demolish, that's the one I'm looking for. Demolish, what your word mean now? Demolish, right? That's what to tear it up, you see. And so so we come to that, and I'm only just using that for an example. Of course we can put it in the situation that we need to, and hopefully the simplest form in that. Sometimes when you are when you have differences and then you're trying to make an agreement, there is what we call a strong man argument, or sometimes it's misinterpret what you're doing. So sometimes people go way off when you're discussing something, because it's easier for them to attack you in that area. So sometimes they try to attack your weakness, right? Because what we are discussing right now, maybe is getting to me. So what I want to do is take you somewhere else and attack you to that, you know, because I really don't want to come to a disagreement. I don't want to come to agreement, but now that I'm attacking this other area, I'm developing a disagreement. So when you come to this, whatever this communication spot is, it's always a choice. You can always choose to disagree, but we are trying to go for the excellency of agreement is what we're trying to do in this, right? And so, like I say, words are used differently. And I'm saying this just because if somebody want to write this down, the words are used differently by different people that has different experiences. Words are used differently for different people that have different uh, uh, personal experience. Let's say it that way, right? So in that, let me see, make sure I probably got ahead of myself here. Look at my little points here. So that's what we need to understand when we come into all of this. And what that does is it builds, because we building on love. So that kind of helps that building on love, in that knowing that that's there, So I think one of the things that we was talking about, and I let you get back in here too. One of the things that we was talking about, I think earlier, was sometimes what we cannot do though is sometimes we treat other people, right? Sometimes we do this. We treat other people the way that we think that how we would handle the situation. Just because I handle the situation a certain way does not mean that you're going to handle that situation the same way. And so I'm looking it through my eyes. So if if you say, I'm just using something. If you say, I never give nobody $100 like that. So you can't look at it as, well, I'm not going to ask him because I know he ain't going to give it to me. Because you coming from a place where I know he ain't going to give it to me because I wouldn't give it to me. That's not right. So you need to ask me, and then I may be one to give it to you. If that makes any sense, you can help me when you get in here. Did that make any sense of what we was talking about, of what I'm trying to say? So that might be a good spot to come in. Did I say
Yes,
that what we was
sir.
talking about? Okay, all right.
So I guess what it is, the way we were expressing it, is that sometimes people, they give you what they would do if they were in the same situation you're in sometimes, or they treat you the way they've been treated, thinking that that's the way you're desiring to be treated, is kind of the way that it's been going. It's like they use their past experiences and the way they think and the way they would react or the way they would handle a situation. And it's almost as if they're assuming that the way you desire it is the same way they desire it.
You're right,
So they're
exactly.
giving you what they would want. And it may not be what is best because they're assuming that you're just like them.
Correct. And that's the biggest
And
thing, for us to assume that we like one another. Right? Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh man. And yes, sir. And I feel like that's the underlying cause for so much conflict. Um, because like you brought up earlier, we all have different upbringings. We all have different rules and different social norms to which we, either earned or worked for these levels of approval in a social stage. So then when we bring that to another person, they may have an entire different set of rules and a different set of regulations. Like if they came from a place to where you had to cheat a lot to win, they think that they need to now do that in your relationship.
Right.
Or if they had to please, like by lying to people, or what we call flattery, if they come from a place to where they had to flatter a lot, now they bring flattering to you, and that you don't want flattery. And I want honesty, but they can't give you honesty because their upbringing was in flattery.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like in that area, that's where these assumptions they lead to a lot of suffering because we're not able to move forward because we don't because assumptions are like they're just like it's like a lie in a sense. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
didn't go for the truth. We went for what we thought the truth would be. And in our communication, it prevents us from being able to get a hold of how to move forward because it's almost like I can't have a conversation with your imagination. Let's
Right.
have a
Right.
conversation with like what we're going through in person, not
Mm-hmm.
with what you would think about the matter. Let's just be honest. And it's hard to do that sometimes because you have to be brave to ask questions instead of just, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, but you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So why would
Mm-hmm.
you say you knew?
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, I read that. Why would you say you read it? You didn't read it, And I believe in those situations, it's sometimes viewed as a weakness or a lesser point to be able to say, "Oh, I don't know that," or "Could you explain that again? I didn't understand." It's
Mm-hmm.
just asking the question. I believe it forces us to not rely upon those particular experiences we've had in the past and helps us to forge new experiences with the person we're in relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather be in a place to where we can get to know versus pretend to know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right. Right.
that's a good place for me at least. So I'm not sure if we quite encapsulated what that idea was, but I just know it's very dangerous to do in relationships. To treat
Absolutely.
each other the way our past experiences have taught us to treat people. As Hebrews, we're going forward with honesty, with transparency, and it may seem weak to be honest or open, but it's not. That's how you build relationships that last. And I'd rather be in a place to where, you know, we don't have as many broken agreements. Let's have more agreements we've kept
Mm-hmm.
because we can rely on one another, and we don't have to work with the assumptions of it's it's hard to express unless I had an example, but sometimes those
Yes.
those those assumptions they're just dangerous. They
Mm-hmm.
cause more problem. They just cause more problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You. I think you encapsulated it real good. Brought that out. That some outstanding points. And one is the imagination. I always talk about from time to time, even at the Sabbath, the imagination can go a lot of places, right? And it is good to make sure that we have control and understand what our imagination can do to us. It took me a while to separate the two. I guess it may took me a while because of practice. But your imagination can do a lot of things. Just look around us. Look at everything that man has put their hands to do. I'm not saying that is negative or nothing. I'm just saying look around us how we can create things. You know what I'm saying? The movies or whatever it might be, whatever it is, buildings. Just whatever our imagination can be there, and so that is something that can be way out there, and then again, echoing on this point is how you've been treated in the past versus how I'm treating you now, you know. And sometimes it can be with the same person, it could be different. It could be difficult because it's with the same person. But you're trying to build. So when you're doing this, then you building the love when you know that it can, this is something that can be honest. We in a world that, uh, we're not like that. And so we're trying to get there though. That's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get there. People in our brains, just think about that is something that I want to put down. The brain, it makes it hard sometimes to see the truth of it, right? Because we know that this truth can bring about some negative consequences, you know, according to what it is, you know. And because it will bring this about, this consequences that if I take this truth, it's going to bring about some negative consequences, then we reject it. Even though it's the truth, we reject it because I'm looking all around me, right? So one of the things is when whatever we live in, or whatever we'll say your facts or your truth that you dealing with, whatever are you live in right now, your brain has, I don't know all the, those that are skilled in those areas, and I'm not. So I'm using a simplest form. Your brain can tell you you are used to this. Now, this is what I want to put in there. When you have those thoughts or have information, you've been acting out something. So your brain will tell, your hands when to move, your head when to go down, all of those things. You acting out something. So the truth that you are in, or the what I want to say, whatever it is, what you believe about words, or what do you believe about different things, and then our scriptures as well, and all of that's included. When you believe about that, then what is the consequences around you if I change? Sometimes that hinders you from accepting the truth, when really it shouldn't be like that. But because in my brain, it takes a minute or two for me to act those things out. I have been acting out in a certain way. I'm used to that certain way. I'm comfortable in that certain way. And anything that comes against that certain way that I used to been doing things, then I fight against it. So just because the reason that happens, and it's okay, but to this point, it's okay. If you can understand that I'm not fighting against a person, but I'm fighting against, say, what the person has said. Now sometimes that's difficult. It's difficult to do. I'm saying it may be said easy, but it's difficult to do, to separate those things. You have to be able to separate it, and because we always tie it to the person. You know the saying about that one that said, uh, don't shoot the mailman. He just a deliverer. You know. So I think that's how it go. So, but anyway, other words, you shoot the mailman, but he didn't bring you the bad news. You know what I'm saying? He didn't bring you and you need to get to the source. So I'm taking that same scenario sometimes, is with these negative consequences. I didn't bring the negative consequences. I just brought the truths or the facts, right? So that just gonna that's just gonna be out there. I didn't bring all of that. So what that does, though, that helps that love part. When we understand that, it helps me to grow in my love with you, when I understand that you just telling me the truth. It's gonna have negative consequences, but I'm not gonna take it out on you. And most times they do that. So what you do is, people attack. So sometimes you attack a person making an argument, right, rather than attacking the argument itself. If that would make sense, you understand? Never. That's how we do. Don't attack the person, but whatever you're talking about, that's what you're trying to make an agreement on. So it might be a disagreement at the time, but you're trying to make an agreement on that, right? So you never tell nobody, oh, you wrong, because you just stupid, you just wrong, you don't do that. So the thing is I'm not gonna agree with you because I feel that you're stupid. If you're using that word, right? So that's the thing. And so it whatever you're doing, it can lead to a change reaction like that, and then it brings about that negativity in there. And so we have to make sure that we understand, uh, to separate, to divide. And that's one of the things that you were saying. And of course, the word divides. We were talking about that too. It rightly divides those things, right? So it is a rightly divide, and then there's a wrongly, right? And so sometimes, you have to know what you're doing when it comes to the scriptures, because if not, then you can do a lot of damage in that. All right. So can you pull from that a little bit, brother? I'll let you come back and pull from that in case I need to refine or readdress that again.
Praise God. That I'm so powered up. I'm just thankful
Hallelujah.
because
Hallelujah.
this. I'm so thankful because I think we underestimate how important the agreement is and the relationship is,
Mm-hmm.
and we right now this is our only shot. So out and sometimes we hear people, they'll throw out that phrase about not caring. I think we have to care, and I believe these are the ways that you can let the love build, like you were saying, because you nailed it. You nailed what I was trying to go for, in the sense that when we're honest and the truth comes up, yeah, and that message, that expression you used, I think sometimes people just say, "Don't shoot the messenger," So I
Yeah,
I, I
yeah,
like
yeah.
the way you said it though. But that's how it is. It's like the truth comes out, and the way you've told us before, there's a right way to tell the truth. Like you don't, in relationship like that, you don't I'm not putting you down. I'm not shaming you. It's just I'm being honest, And I think sometimes that level of honesty, um, if somebody's not used to it, it can have this. It could have a negative response, and we
Oh
could
yeah.
choose to take it personal. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, don't take it personal. You don't have to take it personal, because sometimes we decide to like stick to our guns. And now we need to stand our ground because this person has shared this truth with us. And like you said, it can be compounded because now
Mm-hmm.
there's these negative consequences over the way the truth was shared or what truth was shared. And I think in that's where the agreement can start shaking, because now people they want to be like, well, I didn't say that, or I didn't make this agreement, or now I don't want to go forward with our agreement,
Mm-hmm.
which I can't. That's tough. Or the idea is now we need to renegotiate the agreement now that this truth has come out. So I definitely agree with what you were saying, and I think what came to my heart, was like a power up moment. Is people say another phrase, or one of those they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that it may not be broken to one party, and
Right.
that's the hardest part about it. It's just like, okay, like you said about defining things. What really helps me with that is it is broken, so we need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
why is that a problem? It shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be a problem. And I think in our agreements, addressing that, because we're in covenant, and covenants have areas for us to come back. If we fall, if we slip, there's an area for us to be able to come back. And I believe in our agreements, that should be something we really hold tight to. If one party believes that there was a breach, then we should be willing to do everything we can to rectify that. And I really believe what makes that easier is having accountability in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole lot to what you were saying. There's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
whole lot to what
Uh,
you were saying, and
Yeah, I
I
understand.
I'm
Yeah.
resonating with it on different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I just want right. I just want to make sure
yeah.
that it came across right, and that's what we
Oh
all should
yes.
do. Yeah, in this power up, hopefully that you can take those things and like you said, put them in different areas, uh, that we do have, and I think it will build, excuse me, build that relationships um, that we have. Before we come to conclusion, make sure that the if somebody else is involved before you discuss something, and we're talking about agreements, and then before you come to a conclusion, right? For both of y'all, some people come to the conclusion for both of us, and you had not even talked to me yet, right? Don't come to a conclusion. Yes, you can. Yes, you do feel this way. Yes, I feel this way, but I can't come to a conclusion unless I talk to you about it. Then, so my conclusion shouldn't come into the discussion though, because it's going to turn into an argument. You know, you can only talk. I can only talk for me. You can't talk for the other person. You can't do that. You know, and because some people go into it, I'm right and I because I'm always right. Right? So that you can't sometimes you can't deal with that. So what you have to do is to make sure that when you come together, when you're discussing that, you have both of the parties, and that's how love built. And through it all, there is the forgiveness of, you know, through all is how you get to your agreement is to forgive. And so sometimes we all have not experienced that according, and I'm not gonna rehash all that what I said before. Uh, all of it is included, not excluded, right? All of it is included from what we said a couple of weeks ago to now. Is the same thing as putting that together, trying to rehash that and see if the relationships can build in a certain way, in that. And the thing is come to agreement. And then in order to do that, it's not where I'm right, I'm wrong, you wrong, I'm right, 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 right. Okay. The right situation is now we understand what clean means, right? So when we do that, we can build a thing. So once I find out what clean means, and I look going back to the example that I use, once I know what a clean means, and I don't clean, then that's gonna be a conflict, right? You know, because this is not clean. So it'd be best for you to say I haven't cleaned it up yet, when it's clothes all over the place, right? Say I hadn't cleaned those things up yet. Going forward, in this, those are some of the thoughts, and if we didn't get all of the thoughts, it's always good to go back and maybe rehash this, but uh, uh, just you know we can do it is what I'm saying. We can do it, and you have to. It takes an effort and a strong effort to do it, because oh man, and then we use the thing a word we talking about, crucifying ourselves, right? So the thing is that's part of it, you know, that's part of it. Okay, whatever it is that I can come to that agreement, then this is what we'll do. But then you have to stick by it though. You have to stick by it. That's very very important because I'm living on what you said, right? I'm living on what you said, and that, I know circumstances is in there, but that's the last discussion, and you went way somewhere else since our last discussion. And so one of the things that I'm what really gets me is I'm thinking that everything is all right and everything is not all right, and I'm trying to figure out. So when did this happen? When did we get to this place? Say as a husband and wife, when did we get to this place? I thought everything was all right, and so sometimes you could be in the same household but living on two different levels of thought. You thinking it's all right, and the other one say, "I'm ready to get, I'm ready to get out of here." Those two. How did it come to that when you living in you see each other all the time? You know, and so you don't have to engage in arguments. You don't have to engage all those things. There's a simple way. Not there is a what I don't want to say simple. There is a good way to have a discussion. You know, in that, and I know most of us are not trained that way, but there is a way to have a discussion about something, without falling out. I see that so many times, around wherever it just, oh man, I don't know. I see it so many times, but I know that it can be done in that and the expression with one another. So when it comes to the Torah, we realize that we have all of this, and one of the things is we're examining ourselves as we coming up on Pesach. We're examining ourselves, so that's what we're doing, And if that can help us in our relationships, then that's what we need to do in order to come to the agreements. In order for us to go forward, we need to be in a place where we could go forward, and I think it can be done. The most the most shalom is to know that we have authentic people around us. You are married to somebody that's authentic. It is what it is, what it is. And it is a good thing to that. Knowing that we can discuss these things, knowing that we can grow these things, and the love really, really builds for one another. In that. And so all of that love, the mercy, and all of that, and different situations, of course, take on different things there. Oh wow, we over, but I'm gonna let you get back in there, brother, and I think we're gonna get ready to wrap this particular section up. But I think it was more of a conclusion. I think it is so much can be said, But I think if we can take what it said on tonight and just think about it and maybe put some things in categories, we would be able to build on that. And the love for one another would be real. It could be stronger. It could be strong if you want it to be. Now, here's the thing: if you want it to be, all of these, you're gonna have to choose this. Just sitting, listening to this is not gonna do it. Then you got to put it into practice because your brain has to be retrained. Okay, we that's a T-shirt. Your brain has to be retrained. Other words, you're gonna have to start doing it again. So once you find right information, and I can go on and on, but once you find the right, well, up to your point, what you think, say truth. We'll use truth. Once you find truth, then you have to practice it in order for your brain to get used to it. I don't know all the big technical words of that. Hopefully that come across, but you're gonna have to start doing it, and for your brain to accept it. Sometimes it takes a while for us to accept something because it has to go through so much, you know. So you can undo. There was a thing I was hearing somebody say or something. Undo a lie or whatever. You can undo that lie, but if you've been practicing that lie, it takes more than just information. It takes you to start practicing it. So you can know that it's a Sabbath. The Father gave us the Shabbat, but if you're not practicing it, you don't know it yet. You got to practice it. So once you practice it, then it is truth to you. So if you're saying, I can love my wife, right? You got to start practicing that. And so some of these ideas that we have said in the last two or so encouragements is that if you take some of this and begin to use it, then it does no good if it's just on the page. If it's just, oh, that sounds a good T-shirt. Oh, that was good. We have to start putting it into practice. And when we do that, we fumble. Sometimes we miss it. Sometimes that flesh get in the way and all of those things. But don't give up. Go at it again. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep on going. Don't give up. Don't give. Oh, you don't know how many times. 70 times 70 it is. Like, what you mean you don't know how many times? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Where you going? Don't get out the ship. Right? Where you going? Don't jump. Lady overboard, man overboard. We don't want that. Stay in the ship. Stay in the ship. There's safety in the ship. Is that right? That's when they call it friendship. Stay in the ship. Don't get out. Don't jump over. No overboard. Don't take the boat and go and leave in the middle of the night. Don't do that. Stay in the ship. And you begin to grow in that. Come on, brother. Let me let you back in here and
I like that. I like that a lot. That was a great analogy. What really came out to my heart when you were saying that about, it's funny, I was writing it at the same time. It was like moving forward and holding to what we agreed to. Man, I don't know why being held accountable is such a it's just full of risk. But at the same time, it's necessary. It's so necessary. So, and then making a choice, that really stood out to me in the sense, like, I like what you're saying because it really puts the pressure on. There aren't a lot of avenues telling build relationships by staying in it, holding to your agreements, facing the conflicts, owning your mistakes. That there isn't a lot of voice in that area, but that's how you have a relationship that'll stand all the way to the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that's where we're going. We're purging, the old leaven, because it permeated too deep, whatever that level was, whether it was hypocrisy, whatever it was, yes. It got too deep. And I'm built up in what you're saying because I want to have long-term relationships with the people in Yah's covenant. I'm excited in that. As someone who moved around a lot when I was younger and never had a long-term friendships, like you were saying, this is awesome to be able to say after all these years, the seeds for these relationships grew up and became these mighty great oaks, of love. So I'm excited in that. So I'm just gonna do my best to do it like what you were saying. I'm gonna put it into practice, because just knowing it is not enough. Because I've learned that no, you can know all the right things to do, and if you fail to do them, what have you learned? Um, I think that's one of my favorite proverbs, even where it says, like, in his latter days he'll howl, because he
Mm-hmm.
hated all the instruction. He hated wisdom. He didn't listen to his teachers, didn't listen to the right instruction from peers and those who were instructing. And now it is at a point to where you can reap, and you can't reap the good because you didn't sow it. So I see what you're saying in this build up and this encouragement. And even though there are some hard things for me to face,
Mm-hmm.
like watching what I say. Be careful, because what I say can be taken away. I didn't mean to say it, and somebody may not give me the chance to correct it, whatever that is. But, if you're in relationships that, in Yah's covenant, we should be giving each other a chance to make the best thing happen. And I believe that's what these instructions and these examples you've given us today can help us doing, that we may be able to be proud when we speak,
Mm-hmm.
not in the sense that we're ashamed. Just, I don't have to backbite or gossip or slander. We can build up. So I praise Yah for what we heard today.
Yeah, absolutely. That was good, my brother. And just to, I was looking at make sure my points are here. Um, you know, people. That's what I have. Started out with and talked about different access to different information. Right. People you word differently. That's one of the things that I was trying to bring out. People value what they value sometimes is different, so everybody's not going to value the same thing that I value. So this is where when you're talking about agreements and trying to get there, and sometimes people, they disagree, or they claim to disagree, whatever, and sometimes they can send you missed messages, right? Because you think that they agree with you, and they really don't, you know, and so that can be difficult too. So you running on, I'm thinking that you agree with it. If we say we're gonna go out to eat, I'm thinking you agreeing with that, because you get dressed or whatever, but you never did agree with it. And then if you don't agree with that, then your action is gonna show it. You know, so whatever your emotions is gonna get into it. I guess we're gonna talk more about that. So sometimes people don't want this. What we're saying now, they want the resources, they want the status, they want power, and so sometimes if you want to be in covenant with the Most High, is what we talking about here. If you want those other things, then you have to, uh, you know, that's easily done. In that. But here is when you want to strengthen and love and all of those things, right? So I can, make those agreements that I need to. All right. So sometimes people, they believe something and they take what they believe for granted, but they never ask questions. And you live your life like that, and then one day you get a question, or you question why you're doing something, and then the floodgates come because now you understand that just maybe
Oh
all of
man.
that, yeah, just maybe all of that, was not it. So yeah, yeah, in that. What was you gonna say, my brother? Go ahead, you can get in there.
See, I tried to close, but you said something.
Yeah.
I remember you said pretty much about we go on what we believe. And I remember you had said that about an agreement, such as like we're going to go get coffee. Or I say, Maury, would you like a coffee? And I offer you that coffee in the sense that when I bring these two coffees, one for myself and one for you, that you are going to pay me back for the coffee. But I never asked you to pay me for the coffee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was like we agreed, that I would bring you coffee, but I had, like you said, I had these unspoken things in my mind based upon what I desired to happen, like these assumptions. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not what we agreed to. So I
Mm-hmm.
should have said, I'm going to get you a coffee. Can you pay me back for it?
Mm-hmm.
And then that would have changed this. That probably would have changed the scenario because we may be hesitant, on getting all the information. And sometimes,
Right. Right. Yeah. And just like you said, look, you went and bought me a coffee. You called me and say you want a coffee, and I say yeah, bring me a coffee, and you thinking that I'm gonna pay you back when you get there, but I'm thinking
yes,
you
sir.
bringing me a coffee, So that's yeah. So we didn't have an agreement. That wait a minute, then you get back, and now it's gonna be a conflict because you got back and you expected me to pay you, you know. And so now, oh man, oh, it's on, in that, And so most times you can get it clear. Say, man, you want me to bring your cup? Say, yeah, 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 go and get it. I'll pay you and get back. Say, no, I got it, I got it. Okay, we got to understand it now, But most times it doesn't. Relationship is when I say work, it is salon work, you guys. It's just asking
For the
questions, and
good.
sometimes, yeah, it's for the good. And sometimes I'm asking a question about a question, because you're sure that's how you did to get understanding, in that. And so you could even just take that same scenario. You say you're gonna bring me a coffee, so now I'm ready for that coffee, right? And I go in there and I fix me some toast and waiting on my coffee. 30 minutes go by, 45 minutes go by, an hour go by, and I'm calling you. I thought you gonna bring me coffee. You said, well, I'm on my way. So again, sometimes we don't get all of it because we don't ask questions. Okay, you gonna bring me a coffee? Are you on your way now? Then you find out, no, I'm getting dressed. Well, in my imagination, we were talking about that earlier. I'm thinking you right getting ready to pull up to get the coffee and come on and bring it to me. So I done got my toast. Now my toast cold, and now you know what I'm saying. There's conflict now. There's the toast cold just because I didn't ask questions. Sometimes you have to ask questions in order to get your the right way to go, the right way to function. In that. Or I could tell you, give me a call when you're on your way because I want to put me some toast in or cook something. I'm just saying. So you can sometimes you can ask all of those, or if you don't ask, if you're not a person that doesn't ask a lot of question or question it, then be ready flexible when you say, "Oh, okay, you say you want me to pay for it. I okay, you didn't mention that, but I'll pay for it." So that you understand that brings agreement there too. I'm not gonna hold that against you,
Oh
in that I'm
man.
not gonna get in my feelings because of that, because I'm the one didn't ask the questions either. So sometimes we just have to get clarity on that, and you can bounce back from those misunderstandings. You know, they're not. They just like bouncing off the wall. They not. We should anyway. Don't let them stay long. Don't let those things stay long. So we should be able to bounce off of that instead of just going on and on, and hopefully we can, right? Hopefully we can. We won't be that way. So hopefully, well, we'll, I'm sure, discuss many things. This is not the all in all, but hopefully it was. I think it's more than enough for us to kind of see what fits me and what doesn't, and try to in your own life try to take some of those things, maybe what we kind of echoed today, and maybe you already know all those things, so that's good. Then what we have to do is put them into practice, right? So that's one of the things, is that we are the do people, okay? So we do people. We the do people. We do it. We just don't
I
say
like
it.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We do it, And then somebody evaluates you and they say, "Well, you're not doing it," But what we're gonna do is examine ourselves. Is that right? And so sometimes we get in somebody else's, and I think you said that you do that. You talk to me, and because somebody, you felt somebody said something wrong or whatever, you was ready to jump in there, but actually, you know you didn't have nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? So that sometimes that's where you feel something like wrong, but the other person may not have felt that wrong. And so it's so much, and we can't cover it. But I think that if we start chipping at it, one day we'll have a beautiful sculpture, right? And we'll have a beautiful sculpture in the things of the Father, and something that He has desired, and we want to be better than we was yesterday. We want to be better today than what we was yesterday.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And then going forward, we want to be, better in that. So we can do it. We can do it. And it's going to be, it's something that I could, when I get ready to leave, I could put on cut us off and say shalom. But what's going to count is I start practicing it, right? Because I can say it, and sometimes it takes a minute, So it's like, well, you was the one that didn't you say that? So I have to make sure that I begin to practice those things. And so we're not looking at you to be a student and everything, but you if you want to be able to build an agreement, if you want to be able to build a strong, I use your thing, oak tree of love, then get in there, jump in, and begin to do action. Action always does it. You know, actions always does it. So we are not trying to, power ups. I'm not trying to tell you, at the end of these things, this is what it is, right? I want to leave it always open. Many times if you listen to these powers up, you say, well, he ain't really told me what. You won't get it here. That's down the street. Go down the street and they'll tell you this is the conclusion. I want to
Oh,
leave it.
praise. Yeah.
I want to leave it open where you can be able to expand your growth. And so if I tell you this is what you need to do, that what you need to do, still don't mean what we're going to do it, right? That still don't mean that. But this is not this particular platform is not, or my heart is not. I'm gonna give you some times of building up for the community, and then you take that. So you're not gonna really get too much out of me is, well, what you believe about this, you know, because when they do that, then they label you. Sometimes we want to label people. We always want to put a label on them. Then they know how to deal with you if they label you. But you can't label me because I'm constantly growing. Now that's something to think about. That's a power up moment. We all should be constantly growing. So how you gonna label me? Now we put labels on ourselves, right? We put those on there. But I'm only gonna be that, for a little while. You could put. I'm gonna be slow. I could be a slow runner until I practice and start being fast, right? So if I put me, I'm just slow. I never begin to go fast. So I need to say yes, I'm slow now, but I'm working towards running faster. Because if you don't, so they want to put the labels on you. So don't whatever label people put on you, don't let it be for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Continue to change. Continue to change our lives. Continue to do better what you did before. Don't find yourself if you're in the same hole that you were 10 years ago. Something wrong. You dealing with the same stuff. The same stuff is going on in your life. What's wrong? 10 years ago, you did that. Something's not right. And I'm talking about discussion agreements with people. This is what I'm talking about. You still can't get along with nobody. Well, why is that? I don't I'm not understanding it. So my thing is, who's the problem, right? So after a while, we have to realize, and I'm just talking about that's the history part of that again. That's in that. So uh, as my heart is like that because it will help us. It will help you to have the shalom that we need. We have a short time here, and we cannot uh, put all of our time. It's too much is going to come upon us here soon. There's a lot that's come upon us soon. A lot of decisions that we're gonna have to make. A lot of things happening around us in this world. So we don't have time for this. I'm gonna use the word petty stuff in that. There are bigger things that's coming, and there are bigger things coming. So we have to make sure that we are focused. Our time is short. Who told us that we had years, 10 more years, 20 more years, 30 more years? Who told us that? You know. So enjoy what you have. There's not. It's time, we to be frustrated. No, no longer, no longer. Don't let people frustrate you. Don't let those things happen to us. Don't let it. Whoever it be, if it's me or anybody that look like me, don't let it happen to us. Don't let it happen to us. You know, let's the time is short. Let's be quickly. Let's solve the issues quickly. Let's do things quickly. Let's do these things quickly. It's very, very important that we do that. The time is short, and I'm just saying that. And I'm not saying that as some like some of this mess that goes on. But time is short. It's on the wall. It's on the wall. We don't have time for this. We have to get closer to each other. That's going to be a time. That's all we're going to have, and that could So if it's shaky now, when the trials get intense, when those things intense, so we're going to always have problems, but things will intense. So all right, my brother. Yeah. I think we'll go ahead and we went extensive. This might be a longer one, but that's okay. Appreciate all of you still in the room. If you're still here in that, so you may not be totally asleep, huh? In that, so all right. If anybody in the room, you can give us a thumbs up. Let me see who's in here. Anybody in the room, give us a shalom, and then we're gonna get ready to get out. They're running to the computer now. Uh, uh,
It was on pause. That's what
it it
happens.
was on pause. Okay, all right. They running to
Yes.
the computer.
It's
we
on
got we
pause
got
and
a
now they're running
delay.
back.
We got a delay. Maybe if I say the first one would you would give them $1 million. Maybe they'll come then.
Oh, we didn't agree to that.
You did- all right. Okay. So, all right. Look like everybody left us in that. So I know it's a little delay, but okay. All right. Praise, praise Yah. I was trying to
Right,
see how
we
to.
got some. We
Uh
got
oh, somebody coming.
Savon.
Okay.
We
Oh, here
got the
they are.
Blanc
Here they are.
family.
All right. All right.
Oh
Here they
yeah.
are. Let me put them up.
Oh, there's that wonderful woman named Carrie.
You know her?
Yes, sir. I've seen her
Yeah.
a couple
You seen her a
times.
couple of times. Did y'all agree?
Yeah. We did,
Have an agreement on that. All right.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely. Praise God. Yeah, we're gonna get ready to. All right. Thank you for those that's hanging in there, or you may be still here, but again, not say in the chat room. And so good. Have a shalom. May you have a restful night. It's always good to have some good sleep, isn't it? May you have a restful night, and Sister Gwen there. Okay, they have a restful night in that, and may the Father continue to build you up and make you better. Make you better. You're gonna be better. Looking forward, if the Father say the same, to see you on Shabbat. Shalom, shalom.